Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, joined here by Ramon.
Hey guys, how's it going? I don't got anything funny to say this time.
What? Been such a I don't know. It's been a very busy, exhausting week. I was like super tired today.
Yeah.
But you know how it goes. Gotta beat that podcast.
Game on. I don't know.
Yeah, I was actually also trying to plan out like a time to play with another group, and I felt like I was like worryingly close to the same kind of burnout that Steven was talking about last week.
Oh yeah.
But I got some inspiration, so I managed to like level that out. So I think I'm good on that.
Okay, cool, man. I'm glad you didn't dip down into those depths.
Yeah, no, it was just because it was like a matter of like trying to do too many things at once, and then it's like I want to make each game unique. But
Right.
now after I don't know, after just the game that I've been running recently, I kind of want to like just take elements of that I think work or might work for this party, because they're like a bit higher level, they have a bit more gold, so I don't think it'll fit the exact same tone.
Right.
But the idea of just traveling like added so many like adventure elements, because I didn't have to do like a whole large arc. I just had to do like a bunch of small, here's this thing going on in this space, and your goal is to get from one end to another. So I want to see if I can adapt that to this group.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's been working.
Yeah.
I think you're pretty good at it. I think you're good at capturing that. I want to call it like a small town vibe of places where you just go to a place and this is what it's about, and you're just like, you know, meet some people and you get a little flavor and then you move on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so all I have to do is prepare like these mini adventures instead of like a longer one. Because that group, I guess this is our first topic, even though it's totally off topic. I'll make this part of the intro. But that group is like, that was the one that I had first started DMing with. That was like my first go at it. So that one I had started with just like adapting pre-made adventures. Right. So like at this point I was just like, okay, well I have a bunch of threads from those pre-made adventures, but I want to do my own thing. How do I bring these together? And what I had done before was just introduce my own plot, but then that sort of made things more complicated. But then I was just trying to figure out a way to bring everything together all into one. So that's kind of what I figured out, is just like, how can I make one group of people or one person to blame for everything that's been going on already?
Yeah, you gotta introduce your bad guy now, like your actual arch villain, like, you know,
exactly,
kind of person. So yeah, tie it all together.
So that's the plan. But for the plan for this is some more recaps, because we did mention last week the game that our friend Rebecca ran, which was her first time DMing. And also I had done another session with the Quest of the Fateseer, our online game that we've mentioned several times here. So I'm trying to figure out which one should we start with first.
I don't know. It's your. Let's start off with your game, because you're you ran it, so you probably better like remembering it.
It was
Words
the more
come out of my
recent
mouth.
one, I think.
Yeah.
But only by like a day. Yeah, also last week I was just thinking, you mentioned that your butt cheeks were clenched, and then we never explained that.
Oh right, damn it! I should have said that. That should have been the intro. We should do it all again. No, don't bother with that.
No, it's too late.
Yeah, no, it was. So you know, we can explain it. You'll just get to the part where my butt cheeks were clenched.
No, I just like the idea that you said this thing, and there was no context for it, because at the time we were like, maybe we'll fit this in the episode, and we totally didn't, because we had a really good episode talking to Steven about his experience in DMing and stuff like that, and I think people liked the episode. It got a lot of views, so, you know, I'm sure we'll bring him back someday.
Yeah.
I just like it, like, floating out there with no answer as to what the heck it means.
Well, now the mystery shall be solved.
Yep.
Like I'm an investigator, right? Well, crack the case. Where were these like 5 minutes ago? When I just like...
You gotta warm up. You gotta get the ball rolling.
It's true. I wasn't hyped up. Now I'm hyped up.
But now that it's flowing, I could go into, I guess, the summary of that last adventure. I just had to open up my notes. So basically, when last we had left our characters, or our heroes, or whatever you want to call them, the party, they had finished up in another small town, like we were just saying, and they were heading towards the big city, or at least like one of the largest cities. I mean, probably the largest city close to them. I have in my mind which cities are the largest ones, and I had this lore idea that like there's this massive dwarven city underground, but there's some debate about whether it's one big city or several smaller ones. So if you guys ever head eastward, you'll run into that. But well, I just really trailed off and rambled there. But so they were heading to this large city. We had some RP moments on the way during the travel, because it was like a day and a half worth of travel. So I just introduced some, general NPCs. There was a bard there that kind of hit it off with the party's bard. Your character Baruth was palling around with this one merchant, because Baruth is determined to make friends wherever he goes.
Wherever he goes, he's just a big, loving dude. he'll strong arm you into being best friends with him. That's what he'll do.
Which actually managed to work, so.
Yeah, well, he's a nice guy. I thought it was kind of cool because it was getting kind of heavy with the other players.
Yeah, you were the levity in that game, because that was the same time that we had finally revealed what was in that letter, or I mean, like at least the cover of that letter. So yeah, we mentioned like at episode 2 episodes ago, I think, whichever one it was in, where I had written a letter from one NPC to another, and one NPC was carrying it. This one that the escort quest NPC that's been the main one for this game. Right. She was carrying this letter that one character had written to another, and I had just mentioned how like I put so much time into it, and I had no idea when the players are going to even see it. And finally they have, or at least they know who it's written to, and they also know that they can't open it yet.
Yeah, I mean they physically can't open it, right?
Physically, yes.
Yeah.
They have some ideas of how. I was like at a crossroads in that moment because no one had like the skill to figure out how to open it, and I was like, well, I'll just have them roll some general intelligence checks. Maybe they'll get a vague clue. But as that was going on, first off, they were like really low, like not even low enough they could like fudge it, and they were like, no, I mean you this is already obscure, and your check was really low. But also it was like you had a character in the party, this NPC, who is knowledgeable about that sort of thing. And they would, being on your side, want to actively help you figure this out.
Right.
So yeah, I rolled a check for them. They got like 30. So it's like, okay, I'll just explain how they think it works and then see where that goes.
Yeah.
So basically, like the concept is you have to do like a certain spell on it, but it has to be like a cleric spell from a certain deity. Which was like a vague, which is like as much as she was able to figure out. And then whether or not you guys managed to find someone capable of doing that, I don't know. That's up to you. Like, I am totally prepared for that letter to never be read.
Well, it's so strange because, at least for me, I thought there was like some sort of timeline or something. But when you mentioned that we don't have to escort this person, there's no timeline for this. It's just whenever they get there, they get there. It was like, oh, okay. I guess it doesn't really matter. Right? Like I thought it was like, there was just some imminent thing that we're inevitably like, it was closer in the timeline of the plot, right? But now that we can just feasibly ignore it and go deal with a whole bunch of other stuff that sounds way cooler than dropping off this person.
I mean, for one, there's stuff going on. But for two, yeah, like the person they got the quest from never set like a time or anything. They just said, you gotta get her. And I mean, he didn't know he was gonna die when he gave him the quest. I knew because I planned it, but he didn't know.
That poor guy, Calvin, you fiend.
I mean, I've planned worse things. But yeah, like they were just given the quest to get this person over to this place. And sure, I mean, if they want to spend more time with the character, I mean, like, I like the character. As much as a GM could like an NPC. Like, I hopping into that character's shoes and just having her react to the stuff that the party does. Yeah. And I like giving her own agency to do things, like just the way she reacts to, because we've had this other NPC, Koyel, who was just like a random person who was basically just a name, join up at the party, and I was like, whatever, they have eyes, so they're obviously attracted to Baruth.
They have eyes, so the hot man with all the muscles.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I just like having those little moments of this character being like slightly jealous in a way, but like not knowing how to communicate it.
Right. I mean, it's kind of cool because she has like a little crush on Bruce, and it's like, oh, there's another girl. Like, it's the first girl, other girl in the party. It's like, Exactly. It's pretty funny. Yeah. So I mean, it got really heavy with those with everybody else but Baruth, with Delorfic and Solo and the NPC
and Brima, because Brima is right? The NPC. Because they were in kind of a rough spot, coming off of the last session. Because I mean, at first Brima had seen Solo talking to someone at night. That someone being the succubus that's currently making some deals with Solo.
Turns out we don't know Solo's a good guy or bad guy, or
in between.
In between somewhere.
So Brima was suspicious of that. And then afterwards, after she had talked to Delorfic about it, and then Delorfic helped her see things differently, and so she was sort of okay. I also put some bonus XP on that. And then she got in this argument with Delorfic because she didn't want to reveal that letter that none of the other players knew about.
Yeah, it was like a lot of tension, which is kind of cool. I feel like I never have tension in my games. It's always like, maybe some sort of mystery or something. Maybe it is a little bit of tension, but I feel like this is like a lot of drama that I'm not used to dealing with.
So I will say, like, for me personally, our Ineon game, like, where we're exploring this new land and we're part of the Adventurers Guild and stuff like that. Yeah. Just knowing that there was multiple things going on, like multiple active problems of varying degrees of severity and various locations. Yeah. That felt pretty tense, maybe not dramatic in the same way that like interpersonal character relations can be, but that to me felt pretty tense because it was like, well, I'll put out this fire over here and hope this other one doesn't get bigger.
It doesn't get worse.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, I'm thoroughly enjoying watching the tension. I want to be an audience member to that, but I don't actually want to participate into it. So that's why I took Koyel, my new probable girlfriend, and and my new best friend, probably the merchant guy, which I totally forgot his name already.
Simon, with Simon. A U. Which I don't know how to make that clear, just saying his name.
Simon with the U. Okay, so Simon, we went off and we like watched a meteor shower or something like that.
Yeah, you were just like watching the stars.
Stars,
because we were describing like camping and stuff. I was saying how Simon had like his own personal tent that looked pretty big, and you would ask if there would be room in it for more people, and I was like, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then you're like, I want to get Bruce in that tent.
Yeah, man, it'd be good. I thought it was hilarious, that whole interaction. But yeah, so the tense thing happened. You guys, the other PCs, found out that they couldn't read all of the letter, like actually open it. But you guys everyone read the first part of it.
Yeah, like
the person that. Yeah. It was the person, I forget the name because obviously Ramon never remembers names, but it was like a high priestess or high cleric of
it was Fandrovo Jane, just because it's a very interesting, mysterious name. And I what did I say about her? What did Brima say about her? She said that this person is like a herald novitiate. Which for me was because heralds are a thing already in like the Pathfinder lore, which are basically like physical manifestations of very high level followers of certain deities and things like that.
Right.
So I just said like this person is on the way to becoming that, and no one's seen a mortal person do that in like ever.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, as you'll learn more about this person and why they're so cool, and also their eyes are different colors, because that's cool.
Whenever we meet this person,
yeah.
Well, I know it's interesting because I'm like, what does this person have to do with Brima? Like, why is Brima so important? I don't know. Bruth slowly keeps finding more and more information about what's actually happening. He's just kind of like on a road trip with a bunch of friends, and then there's like these other things that are happening. He's like, that's weird.
Yeah, Baruth just found out they were getting paid to transport her.
Yeah, I had no clue. I thought we were just hanging out, and then turns out we're working.
No, it's a job. And then the other PCs just found out that the person who gave him the quest didn't really have much money, so...
Yeah, maybe it was all a lie. Ooh, I think Delorfic will be really cheesed if he doesn't get paid.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm just like ratcheting up the tension, and then I get to have these... I mean, the Baruth moments are fun, but also just those anytime Brima just does something like slightly adorable is fun for me too.
Yeah, it's always funny to see after something happens, like who Brima hangs out with, because it's kind of like, oh, Delorfic was being mean to me, I'm gonna hang out with Solo, and Solo's being kind of weird, I'm gonna hang out with Delorfic.
Exactly. It gives me like an opportunity just to like check in a way with different players, just to I don't know, just keep things going with them, and then just interact with them as their characters, and just, I don't know, it's just really fun to like bounce around like that without having to be like totally different people. So there's some continuity to the conversation, there's some progress to the interpersonal relationships with the characters.
Yeah.
RP stuff, it's real fun.
Yeah, real fun. And we get to this fabulous city, which is probably the best city Bruce has ever seen.
Yeah. We got to the city, and I was trying to make it seem really important. So, like, you know how I like to do when I'm on Roll20, I change the backgrounds, I change the music and everything.
Right.
So I went and I had my playlist with a lot of my playlist is RuneScape music. So I had that song that plays in Falador, which is like this big important city. As far as like free to play RuneScape goes. Right. I don't know if that's relevant anymore because it's so much bigger now. But anyways, I was playing my Falador music. I changed the background to show this big impressive city. The image I had found had like these domed roofs in it. So I was like, those are cool. Very sort of different than what I usually see with Fantasy Fair. So I'll just integrate that into the lore. And it's like, yeah, Elven structure has a lot of those. So now I gotta consider that when I do backgrounds for other cities, but I don't know. I just like dropping that little tidbit just to make each space seem more unique, because that's what I'm aiming for in this campaign.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I wanted to make it seem, and as I was describing it, like I wanted it to be clear, like this is the most populated place you've ever been to. So like there's people everywhere. Everyone's very busy. There's a lot of activity. It's a city dedicated to Abadar, who's the god of commerce. So, like, as you're getting into the city, there are people who have already set up, like, their little trading posts and stands and shops and stuff.
Right.
Like, I wanted to make it clear, like, there is commerce going on everywhere. The entirety of this city is dedicated to trade.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was super awesome to give us the only problem is that we're poor. So we
exactly. That's why I'm emphasizing it.
Yeah, it was like, oh man, we're so broke right now.
Because you did have to go through like one of the fancier parts of town. Yeah. So like obviously your clothing and what you're wearing and your armor and stuff, it looks very I mean, you've been through several battles, so
yeah. Well, Baruth's not even wearing a shirt, so
also that.
Yeah.
When will Baruth buy a shirt?
Who knows? Shirts just explode off of him. It doesn't. they just never work. Yeah. So yeah, and then we set up shop in like an inn.
Like an inn.
Yeah. And I noticed that the prices of everything went up. Just like
they did.
Man.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Good eye, ear, whichever.
Yeah.
Good on you for noticing that things are more expensive in the big city.
It's because I usually pay for everyone's room, and then we because we usually get private rooms, right? And it's like, because normally it's like really cheap, and Bruce doesn't really spend his money on anything because he just, applies fists to faces, so he doesn't really need anything to make that happen, right? But so he usually spends all his money on the group, so they don't have to worry about stuff. But it came to that, like, this place was like super expensive to order a room, so I was like, you know what? I gotta keep as much money as I can because I think I wanted to purchase like +1 wraps or monk wraps. I forget what they're called, but they're basically just allows your fist to become like a magical weapon or whatever.
Okay.
So I wanted to buy that, and I was like, okay, I'm like halfway there. I need to actually be conscious of my money if I want to actually purchase something. So I was like, okay, I get one room for myself because Bruce gonna take care of himself first. and I guess his new almost girlfriend.
We'll see where that goes. But yeah,
we'll see where that goes. Yeah.
You did end up spending like a lot on food for no reason, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yep. Well, I also was like, everybody has had a rough time, and everything's kind of tense. So I was like, Bruce just has to lighten the mood. So he's gonna just spend his gold on some merriment. For everybody, but not too. I couldn't buy everyone rooms, so that's the only problem.
Yeah, it might be a bigger problem later, but we'll get to why.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and buy everyone rooms. But then we went to see Simon because Simon wanted to give us a job, right?
Like on the way there, Simon had mentioned that he wanted to meet with you all privately in his office. So again, you're going to like a more like lavish part of town, and this town has already been very like fancy pants. So
right.
Like clearly you're somewhere very expensive and important. And I was trying to, I don't know how well I did with that, but I was trying to make Simon's office seem very like it's a very tall building. It's got a lot of people in it. It's got this like gold trimmed spiral staircase in the middle.
That's intense.
Like the top floor is just the 3 offices for Simon and his siblings.
Yeah.
Just to emphasize like the importance of these people here. Which again, like it's just because you guys are like, as you're progressing on, you might meet some more and more important people, like Simon, who you seem to be making into your new friend. So. Yeah, like man, who knows what it'll do with you? What else he has for you to do?
Yeah, it'd be great. Hopefully he can just not. Well, I mean, I think it was. Well, we'll get to that. Okay. So yeah, we went up to this place, met Simon. Simon's like, let's go rob this sword from my brother. It's like a family heirloom, and it's like every year or something, one of them robs it from somebody else.
Yeah, pretty much because they're all elves, so they all live for centuries. So, like, Simon and his middle age, which is, like, 230 something for elves, and they got, like, this family heirloom they inherited, which was, like, this ultra-powerful frost sword, which they inherited, like, over a century ago. And then there was an argument over who should get to possess it, and then they've been stealing it back and forth for, like, decades at this point. Yeah. So so Simon, who was of course like he knew his brother's vault very well because Simon at some point had bought like the local construction companies.
Yeah.
Just to one up his brother. So you guys got dragged into that family drama, and Simon hired you. He gave you a bag of holding, and said he was going to pay each of you 50 gold to go in, recover the sword, and come back.
Yeah.
Which at the time seemed like a good deal.
Yeah, at the time it seemed like a good deal for sure.
So you headed off, did a little bit of stealth, some clever thinking by Solo, doing like a ghost sound thing when your stealth rolls are kind of stealth rolls were kind of low. Yeah. And then you headed into the sewer. So one of the things that happened there is, because like I'm thinking this is a pretty major city, they're gonna have some sort of automated system to clean up the sewers. Obviously, It's living slimes.
Yeah, obviously that's what's in every major sewer.
But
System.
like this was earlier in the session, and I was looking at my notes for the whole vault sequence, and I was wondering if we would have time for an encounter with an ooze. And I was flipping back and forth because I was like, if we have to pause in the middle of it and pick it up later, we'll just do that, because I don't want to like not have the encounter because I don't want to have the encounter. Like, I put it there, so if they have to deal with it, they have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So it's like you're stealthing through the sewers, roll a perception check for the thing, but the thing is, it's really slow, so you see it coming.
Right.
And then at that point, you guys went into planning like how to get away from this thing, and the sewer was basically like these 10-foot wide trenches of sewer water, and then these like small 5-10 foot size ledges that you could walk on.
Yeah.
So eventually, like, you guys were thinking of how can we like evade this thing by just like hopping over to the other side, and there was a lot of planning going on.
Everybody's really nervous to roll that dice because they really don't want to end up in the sewer water. Rightly
really
so, because
didn't.
that would be terrible. So it was a lot of like we had to roll a 10 or something. It was a check of a 10.
Yeah.
The DC. So after everyone heard that, everyone's like, oh, okay, thank God. Like everyone rolled, except I think Solo rolled a 9 or something.
Yeah,
So
it was like 9 or 8 or.
But then Bruce assisted him with like a 30, and I was like, well, don't die. I got you.
Yeah, I think someone carried Brima across. Either Delorfek or Bruce just carried Brima across.
Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, and it was good because it was like I didn't want to fight the slime anyway. I saw it and I was like, we don't need to fight this thing. This thing is just kind of lurking around. Like it'll just. It's not a do or die situation. We can just leave, right?
Yeah, because its vision is based on like feeling vibrations and stuff. So it's like once you're over there, it can't really see you.
Yeah.
So that was some clever thinking. I still give you guys the XP for that. Also, I don't know if I feel like I have mentioned this on the podcast, but like this person that this Brima character that is your escort NPC has the ability to see people's death when she touches them. Which, who knows how that's happening. But I had described like she had seen one of the people in the caravan that was with you on the way to the city was like training to be a knight. So she had seen him get like sniped from behind by an arrow while he's on guard. And she had seen Delorfek drowning, but it was like some really dark place, so she couldn't tell where it was.
I thought that was so cool because later in the story, jokes. Guess what? And it was so cool when I realized that you planted that and it happened. I was like, oh my god, this is it. Well, yeah. Okay, so we found the place. We got in, and then we were walking, and then we found the first encounter inside of the vault. Was I think you had 2 animated armor?
Yes.
Armor?
Yeah, it was the animated armor.
Yeah.
The token was a picture from RuneScape, just because, RuneScape is a critical part of my history. But yeah, so the first thing you came across, because Simon gave you directions to where like there was a hole from the sewer into the vault.
Yeah.
And there was also some trace of like some people who had been there very recently, who you would run into later. So this room, not only were there 2 armors in it, but there were also several holes in the ground, or several pit traps rather.
Yeah, it was a bit of pit traps, and I thought it was so. It was like good because like we didn't know, and because we're playing a Roll20, you just like flipped it on, and I was like, oh god! And then Bruth almost fell into the pit, and then he managed to get himself out. Although in that fight, Bruth didn't really do much. But then Delorfek was, it was hilarious. So the solution was to just shove the armor into the pit trap because it couldn't get out, right?
Exactly. Because I rolled the damage for the trap and for the fall, and I was like, these things got pretty freaking roughed up, and this thing just closes back. So it's like, all right, you beat them, you beat my armors. Yeah. But I just love how nervous everyone got to moving. In that room. Because like they were like counting each squares one by one, just to get across, and I was like, up.
Yeah.
There were some close calls, I will say.
Yeah, after you revealed all of them or whatever, I was just like, oh man, we were so boned. Like if we just I was like at one point we were just like one step away. Like we chose the wrong square, it would have been a pit trap. But yeah, no, it was cool. We used the shove mechanic, which the shove action, which we haven't used in a while, and we used a lot of the. I remember the aid reaction. Sorry, because I don't think Bruce has like a reaction or whatever. So. Like a separate reaction other than the aid one. So I thought it was pretty cool because I remember the last armor we were like short 2 just to shove it enough to get like a crit so we could shove it into the pit, and we ended up just barely doing it by like 1 or something.
That was really assist, cool.
Yeah, that was like a cool team building moment. I think it was like the showing that we're like a well-oiled machine.
At this point, yes.
Yeah. And we survived that, and then Bruce heard some people up ahead, and then he just ran ahead because I was like, I don't know, I think I'll make the save. My thought was like, I think my saves are pretty good.
Really?
Whatever save. Yeah. So which I did. I ended up making that save.
So like as you went on ahead, you did hear some voices arguing, and you ran into Alina. So Alina, as mentioned before, is I don't think I mentioned her name on the podcast, so for people who are following our game through the podcast, which I guess is all of our listeners, there was a bandit encounter a while back, where there was a lady who was pretending to be trapped under a tree that had fallen during a storm. Yeah. And the intention was to draw you in, and then her boys pop up, which they did, but the fight didn't really go well for them. She tried to escape with a darkness spell and a stealth check, but Baruth managed to grab her. Dolorific was right in front of her, so she wasn't going anywhere, and she had like 6 hit points left, so she just surrendered.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was kind of cool to see her again, because I didn't expect her to show up, and I was like, oh man, it's you again. What are you doing here? And then,
Yeah, I was trying to think of like where would she go, and I had a couple options. But I was like, I kind of want to run into her again because I had thought of something to do with her, I don't want to describe it too much. I just thought of like a storyline she could have if she ran into you guys again. So I just it's sort of like what I was talking about before with like I liked the character a lot, and then I thought of something for her. So like I just liked her. So at first I just liked her, so I didn't want her to die. And also, she's not going to die over just some randos treasures. But also, I thought of something she could do, so I was like, I'll plant this seed, and then I'll move her somewhere else. But I had to really, because I didn't want to just do it, I had to think of, logically, would it make sense for her to be there? So, here's a little behind the scenes. With you guys, I have to do a lot of calculating of, travel times. Like with your carriage, a horse moves 40 feet per round, so it moves this many miles in a day or whatever. So for her, I had to figure out, okay, if the battle happened here, and the city is over here, and how long would it take for her to travel from this area to the city? What's a reasonable amount of time for that? And
really?
Really.
Why? But why? We wouldn't have questioned it.
I know you wouldn't have, but I would have.
Calvin, come on, man!
That's part of why I had when you guys got into the city. I was like the guards are on high alert, and I had one of them mention that someone snuck past them literally the day before.
Yeah.
Because by my calculations, with you guys moving on carriage and her in her in my head I was like, okay, they're not gonna go right after, they're gonna take some time to recover, and I think she had mentioned, because she did mention, like Simon said, this thing was going on between him and his brother. They were stealing the sword back and forth for years, and she had mentioned that I stole it from Simon and I brought it here, so I thought I could come in and steal it from this guy now. For me, what my idea for her was that her gang took a day to recover from that thunderous defeat, and they were these people just stole everything from us, so we need to recoup our losses somehow. Hey, remember that big old ice sword? Let's go get that. And my idea was like that took them like a day or so of just recovering and planning and stuff, and then traveling on foot to the same city. And then while you guys had like a head start and were moving faster, the only way they could have gotten there is if they got there like the day before.
Okay, cool. I guess.
Which again, like I realized like it wouldn't have mattered at all, because the more interesting part is, oh hey, this person is back, not oh hey, this is how long it took them to get there based on their movement speed and how much they traveled each day.
Right. Well, yeah. So that's ridiculous.
It is. It really is. I don't regret it at all, but at the same time, it was kind of absurd.
Yeah, it is a little absurd. But I guess, like, you know, if it made you feel good, then...
It did.
Boy, it paid off.
I needed that believability. I needed... for me, I needed it. Because otherwise, I would have been thinking about it all the time.
Yeah, so we meet up with I forget her name.
Alina Coincatcher, the leader
Coincatcher
of the Viper's Hand gang.
Yeah, so Miss Viper Hand, she assists us the rest of the way because we're gonna go rob this guy.
Yeah, basically, now. Like when Baruth had run in there, he activated a trap. Obviously, there was another trap, which was like a tiled floor that shot off like these poison darts. So Baruth luckily made it safe, but Alina's gang wasn't so lucky. One of them got hit, and then the other had to help them get to safety, so she was on her own, and it's like, well, I can't get through this thing by myself, and you guys clearly need help with traps, so let's maybe work together on this one.
Right, and then, so we move on, and then the next room is trapped with a
animated statue, and a scythe.
There was two. I remember because there's two entrances to the room. Like one entrance, one exit. There's a statue which is obviously a golem or something like.
Yeah, Baruth tried to throw a rock at it, and it's like it's not gonna activate from a rock.
So I went and kicked it.
That got it going.
Yeah, and then so you disabled one of the scythe traps, and then I asked you like how it worked, right? You said it was a tripwire, and I was like, oh, okay. So then Bruce used his logic brain and decided to just maneuver himself just jump over the tripwire, and then now the statue had to come and attack him, set off the trap, and like I think you critted the statue with the scythe.
Yeah, because it's two scythes, so it makes two attacks. So the first one didn't do too much damage, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get this guy. And then the other one came, and it did a lot of damage. So
yeah, it was crazy, man. It was so good. Like it was such a. I mean, you. I don't know how you felt about it, but I felt really good as a player, and I was like, yes. It was smart.
For me, it was like I didn't consider you guys using the traps against the creatures in there. So like it was like the same thing like after like because you had done the same thing just before with the pit trap and the animated armor, and then again now you're using the scythe trap on this animated statue, and like I don't know why I didn't think of that. I thought of how long it would take Alina and her gang to travel from this one spot on the map to the big city, but I didn't think, oh yeah, sure, they'll use the traps in the room against the creatures in the room. Obviously.
Yeah, I thought you would separate them, you know, like
nope.
Like it would have been like, oh, this is the trap room and then here's the encounter, or the trap room happens and then the encounter happens, but then you did them together and I was like, oh cool, I can just use them against each other, because you know they don't know, they're not like working in tandem, right?
No, they're not. It's not like if it was some sort of like magic automated thing, maybe, but it's just like you step on this pressure plate and the floor falls open. You step on this tripwire and a scythe falls down.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, the image of it was pretty good in my mind when it happened, and I was just like, yeah, this is exactly what happened. So we cleaned that guy up.
You wrecked that guy, yep.
Yeah, right. And then we go and
then came the drowning trap.
Oh my god,
the drowning pit. This was an event.
Oh, jeez, man, that took up like an hour of intense intense pressure to get around. Like we were running real high off of the other rooms.
You really were. I had to humble you somehow.
God.
Basically, what happened was you came into this room. It was just like a very simple room, like the ones you'd seen before. Alina was like, okay, yeah, there's a locked door on the other side of this. Let me take care of that. And then she went over to take care of the door. As she was doing that, however, the floor opened up to this pit. The pit had 5 feet of water in it. And actually, I just kind of like took the trap like directly from the... is it in the cores in the Game Master's Guide? I don't entirely remember. But
in the core.
Yeah, it was just like this. They described it as a complex trap versus the simple ones I was using before.
Yeah.
So essentially, it was like it would go on a combat round, and I kind of stayed vaguely to the combat like initiative,
Right.
but really we kind of strayed away from it like multiple times. So it wasn't too big a deal. But like the way it works is like it's got. It starts off with like this 30-foot drop into 5 feet of water. So you take some damage from that. And then there's like 4 holes in the bottom of this pit, and each fills it up with 5 feet of water per round. And then the thing closes back. So, like at first what I was thinking was I'll just drop everybody in. But then I was like, nah, it's not really fair. Because I did want everyone like just in there drowning and having to deal with this thing, but like it just seemed unfair to just say, and now you're in the hole. So I had people roll saves for it, and we ended up with some on top and some on the bottom, which was infinitely more dramatic because the door closed back.
Yeah, it was like Bruth made his save, but arguably Bruth is the best swimmer out of all of them.
Probably.
And oh my god, and everybody else that fell in, they just like sucked. Like it, because they're like, you know, Delorphic who's wearing armor, and like Brima who obviously can't swim very well. And, like,
she does not have a good strength score.
Yeah, and like Solo doesn't have a good strength score, so it was like, and then I had like a hard time rolling like athletic checks to like pry open the door. Like I was just rolling 1s and 2s at a critical moment where Bruth really needed to like show up, and I felt so stressed out about it. Like every time I rolled, I was like, ugh.
It was a very stressful, like, for me, I get pretty stressed when Brima is in danger, but I can't not put her in danger because this is a dangerous... There's another thing that I do want to talk about specifically as far as putting Brima in danger coming up later, but, like, this is the room. This is what's here. It's a pit, it's got water, and you've got to swim out, you've got to make a certain DC athletics check. It's like, I think it was like 15.
Yeah.
You got to make your DC 15 athletics check, or you sink 10 more feet.
Nah, man, it was a cool trap. Like I was all about it. Like afterwards, I was like, "This is a cool trap. I'm gonna take this and use it on somebody."
Oh no!
Oh, it's gonna be like a much worse trap because it's gonna be like Ramon flavored. So you know,
oh, no.
all the DCs are gonna be like hard. There's probably gonna be like alligators or something. Like it's just gonna be way worse.
Oh man, I should have put mechanical alligators in there. Okay, I had another thing I wanted to say about the boss room, but that's later. So I'll say it later. But yeah, I should have put more because this place was like full of animated like statues and armors and stuff because that was this guy's thing. I should have put some stuff in there. But no, like the trap worked on its own. Like it filled up really quickly. Like 2 rounds and that thing was full. It is possible to disable one of the like water tubes and then like it doesn't fill up, but like it's 30 feet. It started off with 5. Each one of them does another 5 feet, so like that's gonna fill up quickly either way. So yeah, essentially we had like half the party up top, half at the bottom. Alina was fortunately up top and she was trying to unlock the thing while Baruth is trying to pull it open, but the rest of the party was down there at the bottom and they're desperately trying to swim out.
Yeah, which they were not making their saves, and people were sinking further and further down. Brima went all the way back to the bottom. We finally broke open the thing, and then Bruce dived in to try and grab Brima, but we couldn't see because it was dark. And we finally was able to do it with a whole bunch and save everyone. We're like, this is ridiculous, and we took like a rest afterwards. We're just like, this is dumb. We need
you all sit down and rest after that. You used a couple of torches to warm yourself up. Brima, who has a pet ferret that hangs out in her cloak, like that thing was just totally miserable. It was like coughing and hacking and trying to shake the water off. part of me afterwards, like after thinking, oh yeah, she has a pet on her, was like, should I have had this thing rolling saves? But then I was like, no, that's too much.
We already had a lot going on.
Exactly. No, if something terrible happens to her ferret, it's got to be like real obvious, not just an afterthought.
Yeah, because we always, I think I always forget that Bremen has a ferret. Yeah, so then we went to the boss room after that, and it was like two golden
minotaurs.
So
yeah, essentially what I did, I guess I can talk about the minotaurs first, and then about the other stuff I wanted to say. The minotaurs are CR4, and I was looking at them, like I was looking at the animated stuff.
Yeah.
And like basically like they have a hardness because they're objects.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what's the hardness of gold, and I think it was like 5.
Yeah.
Only. But I was like, I guess that makes sense because it's gold. It just sucks that it's lower than the other things you fought already. But it had more HP, I guess. So essentially, like what I did is I took the Minotaur stats and I put this hardness 5 on it, and yeah, pretty much rolled from there. Like I just reduced the damage they took by 5 each time. But you guys are doing some pretty significant damage anyway, so.
Yeah, eventually. I mean, Bruth has the bad luck of rolling ones a lot. I find that character, so. You know, my minimum damage is 5, so sometimes I didn't do anything.
That was like a very ridiculously tough fight, though.
Yeah, it was. The Minotaurs hit super hard, and the fact that there were 2 of them, so it meant that, and they were close enough that they could get to Brima and like Solo and like, you know, those characters who were kind of squishy. So like me and the Lorfic had to split up instead of tag teaming one. And kind of taking it down like together, just so you know the squishy guys in the back don't get hurt too much.
Yeah.
But you know, like the Minotaurs were like rolling really well.
They were.
And critting and stuff. I think we were rolling okay from the fight, but I remember the fight was getting very, very desperate. And we also tried tripping, which turns out those guys are really easy to trip.
Yeah, weirdly.
Weirdly they're a little top heavy, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of gold on like the horns, so.
Yeah, right. So you know we were tripping them so they didn't get 3 attacks or something, or they weren't able to like move around too much, and you know able to like getting them flat-footed, so bringing out that DC and like striking them and stuff. And then I think Baruth critted. I rolled a 20, and finally took one out just straight up, which was awesome.
Yes. I do want to talk about how the other one went down. But I can talk about some more behind-the-scenes stuff with this room, actually.
Yeah, okay.
So the way this room looked, because I just got a map off of Reddit, because I actually spend a lot of time now on the Battle Maps Reddit, just, like, saving stuff I think is cool.
Yeah.
So this room, it had, like, it was, like, a very fancily made room, and there was, like, another side room that was locked off that had treasure in it. But there were also, like, 4 statues around the middle. So my original draft of this boss room was that those were also traps that were automated that would just like swing down and do some damage.
Yeah.
But instead of fighting 2 minotaurs, you would actually fight a drake.
Okay.
But it would also be gold plated, so it would have that same hardness and everything. But it would be like a single drake instead of the 2 minotaurs.
I think that would have been better.
I don't know, because you did say Baruth wanted to fight a dragon. It would have been easier, maybe, given how the other rooms went. Fighting a single thing, and 2, having traps that you can run it into. But I ended up thinking like the Minotaurs fit better, just with like the style of the entire dungeon. Like, I don't know, they kind of fit the idea of like a maze or vault sort of thing better to me. So I just used those instead. And because I had 2 of them, I was like, okay, well, I don't need all these traps because that's already going to be pretty tough. These things are relatively high level.
Yeah.
So, you could have been fighting like this flame-breathing golden drake, but instead you fought these 2 giant gold axe-wielding minotaurs.
I think I would have taken the drake because that would have been like... It would have been one thing to worry about instead of 2 things to worry about. But yeah. I mean, those guys are doing lots of damage to us. Bruth is not hard to hit at all.
Nope.
I think Delorphic is a little bit harder to hit, but me and Delorphic, I think Bruth took one round of attacks from that Minotaur and basically dropped Bruth down to dead. But I had Orcus Ferocity, so I was back at 1, which is great because that happens like every fight. Bruth always goes down to 0 and he just stands. He keeps standing.
Gets right back
awesome.
up.
Yeah. So and then I critted him, and then we moved on to trying to fight the other one. And so eventually, what's her name? The
Alina came through
Alina,
on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, a couple things. I should have mentioned this up top. I had just dropped like the tokens onto the map. The only one I gave like a ton of thought to was Alina, because it's like, yeah, she's gonna go unlock the door on the other side of the map. But I wasn't really thinking about where I dropped Brima. I was just like, yeah, she's near the door somewhere, whatever. Which became an issue later in the combat, because one of those things activated and Brima was the closest target to it. At that point, no one else had done damage to it. So I didn't have an excuse to like go around and go to who I would logically hit, which is like the damage dealers or something like that. It was just, This is the nearest living thing in front of it. It's like, what else is it going to do? And it frustrated me because I didn't mean to do that. Like, if I was going to have something hit Brima on purpose, like, I would have been maybe a bit more clear about that. This was just like an oversight on my end. And then it came to a point where it was like, I can't fix this without cheating the system. And I didn't want to do that.
I think it was fine. Brima was probably going to be okay with like 1 round. But she ended up healing us eventually. Yeah. There was a lot of running around. We ended up healing us, and which was significant because we needed it to survive like 1 round with one of those things. Because we got healed, and like I think Delorphic got just basically back down to near death again. And we get the bandit chick broke into the vault, tossed us the sword.
Yeah, so then I had this brief moment of like, because like right when you go in the room, there's this like there was this another statue just holding the sword. So she went in and she got it out, and I at first made it seem like she was just gonna bail on you guys, but
I
then
it was,
which was I know that's why I did that. But then she tossed the sword to Baruth, who tossed it to Delorphic, who did a ridiculous amount of damage because he critted with the sword, and it had magic weapon on it.
Yeah, it was awesome. I think it was the first time Tim ever even knew about like striking runes and magic swords and like how the damage could just go whoop, straight up, like
exactly. Because I don't know if you can cast magic weapon on a weapon that's already a magic weapon, but I was like, it's cool if you can, so I'll allow it.
Hey man, it's one of those cool team up moments. Like I think it's fine. I personally would definitely allow it in my game, whether or not it even mattered. Like, like it was already adding an extra D6 of damage on top of whatever the damage it was, or whatever the.
It was like 3d12. So it just it increases the damage die. So the thing went to like 4d12 plus 1d6 cold, and then he crit. So it was like 8d12 plus 2d6 plus double his strength, and like because it was a team up moment because Baruth passed him the sword, Brima cast magic weapon, Sola was doing the inspire courage. So
it was the final climactic moment we've all been waiting for this fight. He stabs it and the thing just like explodes with ice and freezes over and then shatters, like, and it was just over. And like I think Tim rolled like 70 damage or something.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous because it was like I was like, for sure this thing is gonna die from this damage, but I want to see what you roll.
Yeah, it was
I had to know.
It was intense, and Tim was in shock and awe, and I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly why fighters are OP. Because you just give him a cool ass magic sword and just deletes people,
So and then from that it was like, also we're gonna take a bunch of treasure from the room, and I was like, oh yeah, of course you're gonna do that, obviously. Oh boy, I should have figured out exactly how much treasure is in this room and exactly how much you can carry, because I do not know.
Yeah, we messed around with that for a little bit trying to figure it out, and we just dumped as much as we can inside the bag of holding.
Yeah,
and
like
then,
a single chest worth. So
Yeah.
I just have to figure out how much is one bulk of gold, one like unit of gold, and then how much of that goes into a chest.
Yeah, and then we're gonna escape with all of our stuff, and then our bandit gang showed up. I thought we were gonna end up in another fight, right?
Yeah, that's partially what I was thinking, but I was like, it's more interesting because Alina, like she when you first encountered Alina, she had this really nice looking pan flute. It was made with dark wood. It was really sweet, and she had gotten that back during the entire adventure.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? You've kind of gotten along with her this day. You managed to survive an intense battle together. She's seen that you can take on 2 giant gold minotaurs, and she's seen that you can fight her gang already. So the more logical and interesting thing for her to do is to be like, yeah, we'll meet again, instead of let's kill each other in the sewer.
Yeah. It was. I was about to just raffle stomp her specifically.
Because you did grab her, but I didn't have her even try to resist, because it's like, this could go any of 2 ways, but it doesn't have to. I got this thing I wanted, and she also stole some gold herself, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, now she's just off in the wind. I know where I want to put her. So if you end up in that area, maybe she'll come up again.
Maybe we'll run into each other based on travel times.
See, like, because now I'm keeping track of things on a calendar, so I know, okay, this is the day that battle happened. So if you run into her, I gotta figure out, okay, she traveled over here. You also, you gave her one of the golden great axes. And you said you had planned, when you went back to Simon, you had planned to, like, shift blame for anything being missing onto her gang. So we'll see how that goes.
I thought it was a good out. Brute's a nice guy, but he ain't stupid.
So yeah, you ended up with, I guess, a chest full of gold in this bag of holding that you have to return along with the sword.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna take the chest
to your
back
room.
to my room.
Yeah,
with my almost girlfriend. And
yeah, I don't know how you're gonna like hide a whole chest full of gold while you're staying in the city, but that's not my problem.
More like we're just gonna spend it tomorrow, and then we don't have anything. We should just spend all of our gold in the city like immediately, and then nobody knows any better.
You show up at Simon's place with like gold-plated silver armor.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
It's like, I don't know. We didn't take anything. We just got the sword.
Oh man,
that'd be good. Anyway, yeah, I don't know if we have time to go over the other game we played that weekend.
We are closing in an hour, and I feel like we could talk about Rebecca's game for an hour.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, because I was really excited for what she had done. I'm actually debating if we should just make another episode for her game instead, and then leave this one at here.
Yeah, we could do that. For sure.
I don't know if I want.
I just wanted to shout out. I want to shout out Rebecca because she's like our first time DM, and it was awesome, man. Like, I was thoroughly impressed, and it made me feel like I haven't been putting my all in my games, so I have to step my game up.
She absolutely knocked it out of the park. I guess we can describe it just slightly in that it took place in, like, it melded the fantasy genre with, like, the high school story genre.
Yeah, the high school genre, which I thought was amazing, and I had the best time going back to high school somehow.
Yeah, it just
felt. Yeah, the feeling of the game was, stakes are high, but they're not actually that high.
Yeah, like it's like the world isn't ending, but the school is in danger, and the school's our world. So. Yeah,
right. So we'll leave it till next time. To.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like I have to compress what I want to say about that, because I'm like, can we talk about that in 20 minutes? And I was like I was like, we can talk about my game for like 30 minutes, but it's already like closing in on an hour, so.
Yeah, man, you were real excited about that.
Man, I was mad excited. Just I don't know, the tone she struck with the game was just A plus. So
A+.
we'll talk about it next week. But I might be running a game next week, so I'm gonna figure out schedules and stuff. Also, next week I'm doing what's it called? I think it's Yukon. It's like an online convention kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I've never done anything like this before. I'm not running anything. I'm just like gonna play a couple of games there. I'll see how it goes.
Okay, cool.
It's essentially because like no one's going to conferences and stuff, obviously. But it's basically like how people would run games at a con.
Yeah.
So yeah, next weekend there's a bunch of Mutants in Masterminds games going on.
This sounds exactly up your alley, man.
So yeah, I signed up for 2 on Saturday.
Nice.
And then Sentinels of the Multiverse on Sunday, but there's like a ton of stuff going on, so I don't know, maybe I'll talk about that next episode a bit, or episode after that, because I want to gush about Rebecca's game, and we've been putting it off for like 2 weeks now.
Because it's so good, we wanted to give it the time it deserves. Maybe is it still time to sign up for stuff now, or
I think so.
The listeners, so like maybe we can drop a link in the Calvin could drop a link in the description if you guys want to sign up, because that sounds pretty cool, especially because COVID sucks, and being stuck inside sucks, and not being able to play games with your friends or go to cons sucks. So
for sure, I'll drop a link for just u.con gaming. Well, not in the, it's Yukon-gaming, the website, but it's like U, the letter U, con.
Okay, you'll see it in the description.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put a link. I don't know why I'm describing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll talk about how that goes, because I'm kind of like the person running the Mutants and Masterminds games. They ran one of my favorite like Mutants and Masterminds actual plays.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be cool.
Okay, cool. Thanks for listening, because I think we're heading to the outro now. If you guys made it this far, remember to put a comment below of what you thought about Calvin's game that he ran. What are the cool parts? If you guys want to steal something,
use the water trap.
Yeah, the water trap I think is the deadliest thing I've seen so far, and
I should probably give some actual GM advice here, but I don't know what to say. I'll say, as far as GM advice goes, so I'm not just gushing about my game to you guys for an hour for no reason. Use traps. I find they really, like, genuinely, they shook up like the danger. Like, it's not just a combat thing where you have to fight a thing until it goes down. It's a situation where you're not fighting a thing, you're dealing with an event that's happening to you, and how do you get out of it. And I was worried about them not being interesting, but turns out they were.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that even they opened up more options than throwing dice at something till it dies, right?
Yeah.
So it was like tactical too, because we could move around, we had to be careful, but we also could, if we were able to line up the attack, we could shove stuff into the pits. We're able to do like a massive amount of damage to one of the statues with one of the scythe trap. Like, I thought it was kind of cool as we planned ahead. It was kind of like we got more options, and I think that the traps kind of did that for us. For sure. Like just throwing
like a simple couple of pit traps on a map just really changes up the dynamic of the battle, because then like the space itself is dangerous, so you have to watch where you walk. And just adding that element like just totally changes the tone of a fight.
Yeah, man, totally. Yeah.
And that is this week's GM advice. Because that's the point of this podcast, for advice. And yeah, again, like Roman said, if you have anything you want to say, or if you have any questions, just make sure you drop them in the comments below. Or you can hit us up on the socials, on Twitter and Facebook at WinWithDice, or our website, winwithdice.ca, where we've got like a little contact form, so you can write something in there and you can send it, and we'll get it on our email.
Yeah, do it. It'd be awesome.
This episode is a bit shorter compared to the other ones, but that's okay by me. Just because I gotta edit these things.
Yeah, yeah. Poor future Calvin. His time is gone.
Poor me. It's actually weirdly fun to listen back to the episodes and be like, stuff that I said.
Stuff I said, things I did.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a good time doing this podcast, man. It's real good podcasting.
I think it's a great podcast, and I feel like more people should be checking this out because we have a really cool, chill vibe. I like with us. But yeah, give that video a like, comment down below, share it to your friends, share it to your mom, whatever.
Subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications whenever we upload an episode.
Oh yeah, that's like super important. Even though we're real consistent.
Yeah, we have been. That's what's great about it. And also, I guess check out UConn because I mentioned it. It's November 13th to 15th. So,
yes.
The events are like first come first serve kind of thing. So whenever this goes up in a couple of days on the 11th, you might not have much time to sign up for things, but there's a lot of games going on there. So if you want to check it out, I'll drop a link in the description, and I will at some point describe my experience with it because this is gonna be my first time doing anything like that, and also playing with new people. So gotta brush up on my mutants and masterminds. Gotta figure out what extra effort does because I forget.
Cool.
But yeah, other than that, I think this outro has dragged on long enough. So Ramon, do you have anything else to say before we head out?
I've released my butt cheeks. They're no longer clenched.
Yeah, they were clenched because of that boss fight. Did we explain that? I don't.
Oh. Yeah, I totally forgot. Okay, super secret bonus if you made it way past the outro already.
This is the post credits of the episode.
Yeah, we totally forgot. Well, yeah. So basically, it was a moment right before Delorphic did the final blow with the frost sword to the golem, and I somehow convinced Calvin to use all of his attacks against Baruth instead of Delorphic, because if that golem hit him once, he would have been down, and then we wouldn't be able to end the fight right there. So then I told him my butt cheeks were clenched, and I was like, "Come at me, bro!" And then
I was like, "Fine, I'll come at you."
Yeah,
you're lucky, so lucky you didn't die. So lucky you didn't die.
So good, man. I was. Actually, I was at dying 2 or something like that.
Yeah, because you had already gone down.
I could have gone down, So, hey, so it's being a hero. You gotta take some risks and hope the dice work out for you.
And hope you have someone nearby who has stabilize.
Yeah, and that's how you win with dice.
Well, now that you know how, remember to keep on winning with dice. Oh man, what an episode. Bye everybody.
Yeah, bye.